All right. Week 3 demo day on Friday. Here it is, February 21st, 2025. We screwed up last week for some reason, or maybe Google Meet did or something. We couldn't find the video of last week's demo days. We weren't able to get that out, but hopefully this week will be a really fun and jam-packed one. So I'm going to start with Matt and hand it over to him. Let's do it.
All right. So couple things I wanted to share today. First thing is something that Bobby's been working on in the back end, and I've been helping him out with on the front end, which is our new dev mode or our live mode. So this is when you're working locally. What you'll do is you'll run Agentuity space dev in your terminal. Will automatically open up the screen that you see here. So the left side of the screen is your test area, your input test area, and the right side is going to be some information based on that. So what we can do here is we can toss in our input. And so, we've got a nice code editor here. It's Monaco, as you would expect. And we'll hit run. And you'll see that we've now got a session pending. It's going to take a minute because I'm running a lot of things on my computer right now.
Meow to Matt.
There you go.
Not a Matt, and this is sometimes the disadvantage of you're running a Python test program, or it's a little bit slower on Python, unfortunately. Look at that CPU.
Yeah, so we do have the CPU and the memory showing up now, so it's getting us stats as this is going through the process.
Now, what is this doing?
Oh, here we go. All right, so the session completed, as you can see, and we've got our response here, just spitting out some markdown for us. You can scroll down, you can see all of it. You can click on the session, you can see a lot of different good information. So you can see the response payload and content types and what the trigger was, etc. For the sessions, you can also see how long the session ran, a little bit longer than usual. I'm playing Photoshop right now. And then session events, again, you can click on these. You can see all sorts of information. We'll continue to work and improve this UI and pull out some of this information for you. For now, it's just sort of a data dump, but you can see all sorts of good, cool information in here with the event. And of course, you can also see your logs. You can pop these up as well and see everything else. So one other cool thing is, so I can change this to be a different year, and I'll hit run. And it's going to start running another session. But what you can also see now is I've got a history option, so I can go back and actually revert back to one of my prior. So I can click on this and it goes back to 2025, for instance. And so you can do that really nice and easy. So that's it.
That's really nice.
One other thing I do want to show off is we are starting. That one ran a lot faster, 18 seconds. We are also working on the dashboard now, so we're working to try and really improve the onboard experience when you first come in here. Gave it away. Shouldn't have done that. Mismoused. Okay. You'll see that later. And I'm done.
Oh, that's great. Wait, Matt. Okay. So one thing to comment, I was thinking about that live mode's dead mode's amazing. Filters, searching through the sessions and the session events. That's something we need to add.
Yeah, and the other thing is because we were showing sort of the base 64, because the input and output's like encoded because it could be an audio file or a PDF file. It doesn't not always going to be text. So it would be cool in the front end to have like smart content type detection, and then like if you stream back a PDF, it actually would show the PDF, and you click on it, download it, and obviously it's markdown. It can actually detect the markdown and render the markdown really nicely. So I know some things we've been talking about.
And that's awesome. It looks so good. It's amazing.
It's all up next.
Good job, guys.
All right, who's next?
I'll go next. Let's see here. Share screen. Is it working?
We can see it.
Okay, cool. All right, so I stubbed out the UI 2 days ago for our storage. So we have key value storage and vector storage that we'll be able to use from our SDKs. So key value storage, you'll be able to click into a data store and then kind of see a general overview of your data that's coming in and out, and then also the agents that are using this store, which is going to be really important, obviously. And then, of course, you can drill down into the logs you can actually go into in this case, since it's key value, you can click on the keys and see the different things. And then there's some settings that go on with this as well. And then same thing with the vector store. You'll get a similar kind of dashboard related to vectors and vector counts and what agents are using. And same thing, you'll have like your data and your logs and that kind of thing. So that's the first thing I stubbed out. And then let's see here. How do I need to share another one here. The other thing worked on is this. So we've got this all this news that goes on in AI, right? It's hard to keep up with. So I'm calling it the newsroom, but it's a set of like 6 or 7 agents that go through, get all the latest news, curates it, creates these articles that you see here that you can just click into to go to the article. But then also you click on
Today
this
on
and it'll
Agentuity Daily, we're
start an
diving into
actual
AI vulnerabilities.
it'll actually start a podcast too that's all AI driven as well. So there's an editor in chief, and that's like the orchestrator agent, and then there's a investigator, a research agent, and that goes out and looks for the latest stories every day. And then there's a couple other things. The editor in chief looks at the latest stories that the research agent comes in and kind of says, hey, have we written about this before? Is it similar to these things? And kind of stack ranks them. And then when the editor in chief thinks it's good to go, he'll pass it off to editors, an editor agent, to then create what you see here on the screen. And then after that's done, once a day, the podcast editor will wake up and then create a podcast transcript. And then as soon as that's done, then the voice agent then creates the voice on for the podcast. So it's pretty cool. So we're going to open source it. And then of course, all these agents you can deploy in our cloud, which is really cool, which they're all written in Bun, by the way, which is amazing to write these agents in. I kind of hope that in the future, that's what people write agents in, or Bun, because it's amazing. And then finally, last one here, I lost my share screen, is so I just before we jumped on this call, I started fleshing out the doc site. Ignore the layout, looks terrible. It's just the standard docs for Fuma docs. It's like an open source Minify or some of those others that cost a gazillion dollars. It's really cool. But I'd never heard of this before, but there's this, you see this code block here? There's this thing called, what's it called? Two slash. Thank you. 2/. Have you guys heard of it? 2/? No. So it's cool. So you see this code block. If you mouse over it, check it out. So it'll do like the whole TypeScript thing. But if you have definitions like this console log, you mouse over it and it'll show the stuff. Really cool. So you can actually do that with all of your SDKs and any kind of TypeScript definitions and documentation. So as we flesh this out, you can mouse over certain objects and functions and things, and it'll actually pull it from there, which is super cool.
Get it? It's really amazing. That's
it's amazing, and it'll also do like if I made this, like, let's say I said, so the type here is string number, and then if I like tried to set this as the reverse, like 10, and then the second one was hello, so I reversed the types, it would actually show the TypeScript error in line right below this. It's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you give it that information, that type inference data?
They have a way to ingest it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
there's a way that you can. It's a renderer, and you pipe it in there, and then it knows about all that stuff. It's very cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway, those are my demos.
Awesome. Who's next, Bobby?
That was Robin, but I can go.
Okay, we can go to Robin. Let's go to Robin then. Let's go to Robin.
All right, let's get started. Share my entire screen. So I've been working on the actual running in production of all this. So you guys see my screen all right? So I have over here, I'm in our kind of control plane VM, and I just went. What this guy does is he manages all the machines that run agents. And so I went and deleted the current machine that it had running. Right now it just has one runner machine. And so it went and reconciled, saw that there were no machines, created a new one, gave me this awesome command, which maybe we won't keep in there forever. But now I can see this, and I believe I can just do sudo kernel control -u, and that's our agent server. Look at that. That's our machine log. So it's up and ready to take agents. So let's go ahead and deploy my sweet agent called Grape Identifier. And I'll go ahead and do it. Here, I'll see what it does too. It identifies grapes. It knows a lot about grapes. So I'll go ahead and Agentuity. I haven't gotten the latest update from the CLI. So you can actually just do deploy. Deploy. Boom. All right. I think I have this post. I'll do this. -d. Let's see. Iron and green and used to make wine. What am I?
Don't
And
forget your content type.
I know. Type text plain. Takes all kinds of contents. This should go now. And boom, now I gotta run. So I can flip back. People won't be able to do this normally, but I can because I'm in the system. And it should pick this one right up. And it's not. No, of a demo. But why? Hold on here. Run. I gotta run ID back.
We'll have to circle back.
Yeah,
See if
right.
you
All
get it.
right. Sorry. Yeah. Come back to me.
Okay. I will jump on. Okay. So what I've been working on this week is inputs and outputs for agents. So right now I'm in an agent that's built with the Crew AI framework, and I am going to go ahead and deploy my agent to our cloud. Right now, it's going to ask me for some environment variables. I already have them set, so I'm just going to not do that. I have this running locally. Usually, this would be a cloud URL in our cloud environment, but for the purpose of this example, that's what it looks like. So now I'm going to create an input or a source for this agent to start. So we have a couple of different options here. We have Slack, email. Whoops. We have Slack, email, SMS, and webhook. I'm going to go back and describe some of those in detail later while the agent's running. But let's start with Slack. So I've never set up a Slack source in this project before. So it's going to prompt me to install the Agentuity Slack bot. So I'm going to click allow, and we'll see that the Slack integration went through. This will be better in the future. The terminal will actually wait for the callback here. But right now, we'll just go and do this again. So now the Slack source is created, and we can at Agentuity in the chat. But first, we need somewhere for that to go, right? We need a destination. So destination create. We have the same options here, as you can imagine. For the purpose of this example, we're going to select webhook. And I am going to use the trusty old webhook site. No bearer token, and that has been created as well. So now let's kick off the agent by sending it a message. So let's just put in AI as the topic we want this research agent to use. And we should see the process start. Over here we have a, let's double check. Docker container. Oh, man, do I also have a? 1 second in Slack, so you can imagine asking it to do something and it going off and completing that task for you. So let's come back to our containers. We can see that the AI agent has started up and is running in this container right here. As this is running, I am going to go over some of the different inputs and outputs we have. So SMS, for example, each agent, you can imagine having its own phone number. So in this organization, I've already picked a phone number, but I don't want to use that, for example. So here we'll actually go up.
Hey, Bobby, can you bump up your text size, please?
Yeah, sure. Here we'll actually go out and purchase a phone number for you and link that up to your agent. So I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to cancel. But that's how SMS will work. Email would work very similarly. We'll give you a unique email where you can email your agent and it will kick off the same process, just like in Slack. So let's come back, see how this is doing. Looks like the packages have been installed. And let's wait on our webhook screen to see if we get it.
Nice. And Bobby, when you type in, like you typed in just AI, that could be really anything. Obviously, that's what the agent's going to pick up and automatically know the content based on the routing and all that.
Exactly. It could be a question that goes to like a director agent that then directs it to some other agent to then respond to you.
And then can you have multiple inputs and outputs?
Yeah, you can have multiple inputs and multiple outputs.
And can you show where does the input and output, like in the config, happen? How do we know?
The inputs and outputs are actually on the Agentuity YAML file, and they get written right here. We haven't built out this yet, but I imagine there'll be a page in the dashboard as well where you can check those out and configure them.
Nice. And you can also do it in the CLI as well. You can also list them or remove them or add new ones, obviously. Cool.
Yep. So we see our agent still running, but I imagine it's about done. Okay, look, there it is. It's finishing up. It shut down. Boom, we got our webhooks coming in. So that's it.
Nice. So basically, in this case, just to summarize, so you sent a message from Slack. It went all the way to the agent, came back, the agent did whatever it did, and then it posted basically the output destination from the agent. Whatever the agent responded with went to the webhook, basically. That's what you demonstrated?
Yep, correct.
That's awesome. Must have been working on some new capabilities that that we want to support in agents. So I'm going to start with, much like Bobby, I'm going to start with IO, and you can do a new, I worked on scheduling. So let's say every, like in Rick's example, let's say maybe twice a day, the agent swarm wants to wake up and go do research or build new articles, and they're going to do that constantly. They're going to do it like on a schedule. So you could actually create a source. So let me do that here, and you can do that as a schedule. Sorry, I got to create a project first. So let me do that. Let me create my project, new, and then I'm going to say test project here, and I'm going to choose fun because that's what I'm going to do for my other demo. When you create it automatically creates a webhook endpoint when you create a new project, and by default, secure first. It will secure your agent with a your own bearer token, so people can't just necessarily. You can turn that off if you want, or you can even change the authentication. I'm just going to turn it off for this demo for a moment. So let me create my agent. Okay, so created my agent. Go in here, and before I deploy it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add a source. So let me just add another source, and you can sort of see now you can select a schedule in addition to some of the things that Bobby showed. So you give it a cron syntax. Eventually, we'll make it where you can just describe what kind of when you want it to run, and the LLM will automatically build your cron. But for now, you can give it a cron syntax, and then it will set it up. And then you can also optionally give it a specific payload when you trigger it. Eventually, we'll make this where you can template it as well. But right now, we'll say I could give it like text, and this is a test, whatever, and that's what it will actually send. And then you can give it the content type, which will automatically detect In this case, I did Jason, so it automatically knew it was Jason, and then it'll create the input, which I don't have this fully wired up yet on the testing sides because we haven't deployed that yet. Okay, so that was kind of the cron, and then it'll automatically schedule your agent to run whatever your cron schedule was. The other thing I worked on, I wanted to show, was some of the memory APIs. So let me first show you the project. We're working through some of the structure. I think we're going to change the structure around a little bit for a vanilla new project. This is a bun project that I created. So you can sort of see here, bun.js. It automatically gives me a webhook. Automatically.
Jeff, could you up your
make
text?
that a little bigger? Yep.
Yeah, Command plus.
That
Yeah,
bigger?
thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get this a little aside. And then it automatically creates your webhook. You can, of course, create inputs and outputs we've seen. You can tune your resources, etc. Pretty much all this will, be probably not necessary for most people, but you can customize it. And then I've got my agent here. So we kind of changed around a little bit of the style, and we're working through some of this right now, like the best way to kind of lay out a vanilla agent, either in Python or in JavaScript, TypeScript. But this is a default right now that we're working with. What's pretty neat is, of course, we have a kind of familiar style request response and a context object. So when your agent runs the entry point, you can, of course, do whatever you want. In this case, I'm generating, I'm going to the LLM to ask it questions. So you can see here my prompt is dynamic. So I'm looking for, if you send me a text prompt, I'm going to use that. If you don't have one, I'll fall back to the default. So you've got a bunch of different things you can do here on the request side. Much like you would in the web and an API, you can sort of say, oh, I'm expecting it to send me like a PDF file that it wants me to analyze. So I can just get my PDF contents, and then I would hand that to whatever process I wanted to potentially do, or et cetera. So it automatically does the content negotiation. And then you can also do the same on the response side. So whatever you want to send out. So if you wanted to send out, let's say, a GIF or an image file or a PDF file, et cetera, you want to render that back as your output. You can also get the type. So in this case, I want to get the type of what came in. Or the trigger rather, sorry. So this would be how you triggered it. So the triggers might be, SMS or schedule, cron or, webhook, et cetera. So whatever triggered it. So you might want to do something dynamic. So let's say you wanted to say on my trigger, let's say that trigger was SMS. Maybe I want to, pull the body of the SMS out as text. And and then I want to process that, and maybe I want to even send it to another agent, or I want to do some pre-processing before I do, my agentic case, for example, or send that to the LLM. So you can kind of do that as well. In this case, I'm just pulling it out as text. The other thing is we now have on the context object, we have a number of things on the context. Of course, you can get a little bit of information about the project or the run, but we have two new things if you're in dev mode. We have two new properties, KB and vector. So I worked on these this week. So if I wanted to do KB, so let's say I wanted to put things or pull things out of KB, I can just say get, and I can give it the name of my key value store. So I'm just going to say my store, and then I give it a key. In this case, let's say my key or my prompt, let's say. And so in this case, I would get back value, and I would await that. And now I got whatever was in KB. Now, this is going to be whatever you stored in KV. So that's up to you to store it. You can, of course, cast it if you want. So by default, it's going to come back just as a binary array buffer, but you could, of course, store other things in it like JSON or whatever and cast it to that. And then I could, of course, let's say in this case at the end, maybe I wanted to say val here and, pull that out as string, let's say. I hate when the type thing does that. And then you could, of course, send it along. But in this case, what I'll say, what I want to do is I want to cache the results. So in that case, you would do the same thing. Thank you, cursor. I could just cast the, and I wouldn't do that. That was wrong, cursor. I would do that. And I would wait for the response. Sorry. That was correct, actually. Response text. That's what comes back from because I already awaited that. Sorry, that was from cursor was correct. That's what came back from the LLM. So I'm going to cache the prompt from the LLM. So that's kind of key value store. You can also, of course, give it a duration. So let's say I want to store it. I only want it for 30 days, or maybe I only want it for 5 minutes or whatever. You could sort of set that along by default. If you don't give it one, it won't expire at all. And then you can manage that through the front end as Rick was showing. The other, so that's KB. So that's nice for like memory, short-term memory type things. I want to put it in KB. And if I've already encountered this, or I want to store some sort of state in memory, that's kind of nice. The other one is I want to do vector search. So we also provide vector. So you can also do vector here. And this just works. You don't need to create anything, no infrastructure. I don't need to register anything. It just works out of the box for your project. So I can search. So I've got 3 options. I can search my vectors. So any vectors I've already stored in my vector database. Of course, I can upsert data into my vector database. So in this case, I'm going to do something a little bit contrived. So I'm going to create something called my store, and I'm going to basically store some vector data. So let's await that. And then I've got a few options. I can, of course, I'll give it an array because I can store multiples. In this case, sorry. I can give it arrays. It's a spread, so I can give it multiples like this. And I can either give it a document directly. So I can just give it a document like, hello world. And it'll automatically do the embeddings for you. You don't have to worry about vector embeddings and the math and all that. You can just give it a document and we'll do all the vectors on the back end. I can also give it metadata. So let's say this was the summary of an article. So let's say this might be, this article summary is about blah, blah, blah. Hey, look at that. The benefits of using AI. There you go. And let's say I wanted to give it like that, an article, a title, URL, wherever I fetch the article from. That's kind of a typical use case, and then I would upsert that vector. And then later, let's say I wanted to search for it. Now, usually you would upload, probably not through your agent, although your agent could upload articles. Like in Rick's case, he was doing the newsroom. In his case, the writer might upload, or sorry, the editor might review and say, okay, I've selected these 4 articles, but let me check the vector database to make sure we don't have similar articles we've already written about in the last 7 days or something. So he might search the vector database to find similar articles, and then omit any articles or tell the writer to remove some of those articles. The writer, of course, the researcher might upload articles after the approval of the article. He might upload the summaries of the articles that were published as an example, or maybe that's a different person. So the searching is very similar. So I'll just search the vector and you can sort of see there. Yeah, and I can of course query based on let me see this, based on, sorry, it's not query, it's search. I can search my store. I can give it a query. Eventually, you'll also be able to do embeddings, and then I can also filter. So in this case, I'm going to filter based on metadata. So I can say constrain it to a source, for example. I can also, why is it not working correctly? My TypeScript types are getting a little screwy. Go to the definition here. I'm not sure why cursor's getting a little screwy. So it's query, limit, similarity, and metadata. Yeah, that's correct. So metadata. There we go. And then I can also say I want the similarity to be a certain, that's not right. Why does it keep doing the wrong thing? I want it to be, really high before it matches. So in this case, what we're saying is it's going to do a query against all my vectors. What is the summary of an article? It would try to find that query. It would say only match if it's 80% confidence, and also filter by, it would have to have the metadata called foo. So that kind of metadata acts as an additional filter. So foo would be a bad example. Maybe source might be a better example, and say, let's say Reddit as an example. So only filter for things that are on Reddit. And so that's kind of how you do the vector search. And then also one thing I forgot to mention is you can also do embeddings on here. So right now I've given it an actual document and I don't have to worry about the embeddings. Our service will automatically figure out the embeddings. You can also, if you already have let's say a third-party embedding, or you're using your own library for embeddings, you can also, of course, provide the embeddings raw. And if I could spell, it would be embedding. So you could also just use the embeddings as well, and we'll use your embeddings directly. So that's how that's used, and I think that's it for my demo. One other quick demo, a few other changes I made. Agentuity used to do cloud deploy, which you can still do. I also made an alias for deploy, which is a little bit more shorter and natural. Used to do project new or create. Also made Agentuity create, or even Agentuity new. Those are aliased. And then I also cleaned up some of the prompting based on some of the feedback when you create a new project. So that's pretty much it for me. And I think we are done. Anybody else have any closing demos or thoughts?